Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Helm Dev meeting, the weekly meeting. It's December 18th, 2025. We follow the CNCF Code of Conduct. Everything that is said when you're not on mute and everything on video when you're not hiding your video is recorded. So bear that in mind. Okay, so here is oops, here, just pasting for the recording. Yeah, just be kind. Thanks, Robert. Pasting for the recording, the link to the docs, or excuse me, the meeting agenda. Um, okay, so first announcement uh, is all yours, Karen.
Hey everyone. Just a quick note that I submitted the request for yet another project booth at KubeCon. So this time I submitted for the morning half. This is for Amsterdam in March. Yeah, mainly just so you all know. Be good to get a sense of who's going. So if anyone on the call right now is planning to go to Amsterdam, if you could raise your hand or just drop it in the notes, that way I can kind of start getting a sense of, I guess, going and able to help at the booth. That way I can get a sense of staffing. So that's it. Thank you.
You actually have a pretty large presence throughout the different events. I submitted the maintainer talk. I think either Robert or Scott did a Contrib Fest, and Evan did a lightning talk. So we have a little bit of different venues across the board for the project.
That's correct, sir.
Does anyone know where North America is next year?
Salt Lake
Salt Lake
City,
City.
right? I
Ooh,
know it was.
let's chat about that, Joe.
Okay.
Um, okay, great. Anything else about Amsterdam that needs to be
No, that's it for now, I think. Yeah.
sweet? Okay, so then, yeah, good point, Matt. Next discussion item is yours.
Yes, I believe many of us are going to be busy on the next two Thursdays if you're tracking the calendar. So I was going to suggest we formally put in to not have them. For those who don't know, next Thursday is Christmas, and the following Thursday is New Year's Day. And so those line up with when people usually are not around for meetings. So I just wanted to formally put that out there.
I don't remember that ever happening before, exactly on those days.
I don't either. So
I think it
just
happens
a heads up.
every 4 years or something. It happens like that. But
Yeah.
yes, I agree wholeheartedly. I feel we should cancel it. If there's something major, most of us will be hungover.
Unless there's somebody,
Well,
unless there's somebody that
yeah.
disagrees.
I suspect my kids will be mad if I try and join the Helmco next week,
Yeah.
and the rest of my family.
Okay.
We'll
So
give everyone a reprieve.
yeah. So we'll formally add to the doc that we're not meeting. That was all. I just wanted to bring that up.
Thanks. And I guess, Robert, if that ever happens every 4 years, I just have a short-term memory, I suppose. For some things, at least.
Yeah.
If it happens before a leap year, it happens 2 years in a row.
Ooh, that is true.
Ooh, wow. Okay, so Benoit, you have the next item.
Yes, hello. Sorry for the noise. I'm in a very noisy environment, so I hope it will be okay.
Same here.
We
Thanks.
made we make a security change a few months ago about the Helm chart size and Helm the file size and chart size. And if I remember correctly, we did this change because it was an issue with the JSON library. George mentioned it, I think 2 weeks ago. And I made a pull request to help the user to specify a custom chart or file size, but maybe the security issue is not present anymore, and maybe we could just revert the initial patch by Matt, and because some users are blocked with the previous version, the version preview of the patch. So I was curious about what do you think about reverting, or we want to keep
So
this security?
Yeah, this doesn't have to do with the JSON size. The link you sent me had to do with the full chart size,
Okay.
the
Okay.
chart's decompressed size. Did you mean to send a different one?
No, no, because maybe George, you have an idea because you mentioned JSON
What
issue
I
2 weeks
what I
ago.
recollect is that we implemented these because the security issuer identified two things. One was just a denial of service. You could create a tar file which was large, and the other one was the JSON schema library would also do an expansion of the JSON schema includes it was a denial of service. But we since switched the JSON library out, so I don't know if we need the per file size one. At least that was my recollection anyway.
Okay.
Yeah, we can the
So
per file one, we can probably look at changing the per file one again. The overall one we can't. So the gist is, and so how Helm works is when you grab a chart archive, it actually decompresses it in memory, not to disk, right? And it's actually possible to create an archive file, just an in general archive file that explodes to like 1,000 times its size, right? So think about a 1 meg chart archive that decompresses to 1,000 times its size or bigger. You can actually get gigs there. Now you do this in memory. Like take the same character and just repeat it over and over and over and over, and it'll explode memory now because it's decompressed in memory. That's what happens. So what this does is it says once the memory footprint hits a certain amount with the chart size, stop because things have just gotten way too big overall. You're probably got a very, very bad chart archive at this point. I think, what do we choose for the default here? We chose for the overall chart size, we chose like 100 megs. And the truth is, we went around looking and we never even found a chart that was close to this in size. So we gave ourselves a really healthy size there. Then for the individual files, what do we choose? 5 megabyte in size for an individual file. So if somebody's got a file that's showing up as larger than 5 megs in size, let's talk. That actually surprises me, quite frankly, to have a single file that large.
So there was a chart out there which did have a legitimate use case, and I think it was the per file size. Do you remember, Bennett?
Yeah.
I don't remember, but we have few users, but I don't remember which one.
I think it was an Istio one, if I recall correctly. Is it Istio?
Was it?
I reviewed it myself, and yeah, there was one that I tested. Where was Istio?
That could be. Istio would not surprise me if they had an individual. It's probably a single document that breaks apart into more than one thing, is my guess. Am I right? It's more than one document in a single file.
Probably yes.
I'm going back to the issue right now to see if I can find it.
What I
Yeah.
would propose is if we don't need the per file size, we just remove it because then it's one thing, most of the thing go wrong. I would also, if it is the total size which has been pitched, I think we should just make it higher. We picked 100, like 156, 1 gigabyte. These are all other options, I think. Terry.
There, your hands up.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
All right. Anyway,
It's
that
blue
would be my proposal. In the interest of making it easier for users, I do think we still have the configuration. I suspect just an environment variable is enough for configuration because it's going to be a very unusual thing that someone needs to configure this. I don't know if we need a
Well,
CLI option, but
So here's the difference, though. If this gets a little bit into the separation of concerns, and one of the reasons I'd like to solve it without doing an environment variable or something or a CLI option, and that's because the person who creates the chart is usually not the person who's installing the chart, or is regularly not the person. So if somebody sets this in order to create a chart, whoever's installing it may not know, and then they're going to start questioning what's up with this chart that I'm installing that have to change these file size options because it's so big. Why are they choosing to do things this way? Because, it's that separation concern between somebody who's packaging it and somebody who's not. I mean, maybe there's an advanced use case where somebody's doing both and they're doing some trickery in their own environment. But if this is out there for large scale people to use with separate producers and consumers, that's where I'd like to find a more elegant solution, if at all possible. So we'll have to dig into, and I don't remember why we did I think the individual file might have been the JSON schema thing. And if that's it, we might be able to pull it out because the overall chart size is the ultimate issue. And the JSON schema one did have an issue where that could run away, but the new library handles that one already, I believe. So let's dig into this and see if we can pull out with the glue chart, it was the individual file size.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was
Okay.
just schema. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's,
Then we
I
might
was gonna
be
say
able to
that-
back that out. Yeah.
I would agree with this. I think like there has to be a limit. We have to pick a number. I propose we just like if someone comes along and they're like, my use case needs 1 gigabyte, then we just make the limit 1 gigabyte, and we can track via community support. But we do have to pick a number. I think.
Yeah, the 1 gigabyte will actually probably run into. I mean, if your chart expands to be 1 gig in size, we should probably talk about something like that because in lots of CI systems and other places, you might actually run into memory issues with it. So, we should talk about that. But yes, let's. I'd be open to pull requests on changes on this. Yeah.
Yeah. Or we
Please
could have
ping
the
me to
breakdown
review.
configuration option. Which would be the environment variable. I agree with the separation. It's going to be an awkward thing for the producer to tell the consumer, "Oh, to use my chart, you have to set this value."
Yeah.
This thing.
Yeah, and as somebody said in chat there, real quick, I'm sorry, I missed too. Eventually, if your thing gets too big, etcd is going to fail to store it anyway. So that 5 meg file is actually interesting because of etcd's size and ability to actually store resources. I wonder what resources being used there. That's probably why we even chose it so big as an individual file size. Is it's larger than what etcd lets you store as an individual uncompressed file.
And a lot of folks are actually creating their own aggregated API servers to get around that in Kubernetes because like Everno has a report server that gets around that by storing it elsewhere on a database because of the size.
Yeah, with the aggregated API servers and resources going into those, that does make sense. There are a number of places doing that now.
Yeah, and I don't want to spend too much time on this note that I want to make, but during KubeCon, there were a few brainstorms going on about how uh, about perhaps a plugin for backend storage, a new plugin type for storage in a way that could be secure, and had a conversation with Stefan Prodan, Lee Capili, and separately with George about a pretty cool idea that Lee came up with about how that could be done securely, given that what's stored in values is uh, often secret. That's why we have them in secrets by default. So just kind of want to make a note there that if anyone's interested in that conversation, um, say so and ping us, and we may want to start that in the Kubernetes Slack channel, the Helm Dev channel.
Yeah. If somebody makes a PR to change this particular thing though for a short-term fix, ping me to review and I will dig up what this actually was for and make sure the security thing is still handled elegantly and so it doesn't blow up on the security side.
What if the max was just set by the amount of memory you actually have
The
dynamically?
maximum file size?
Chart size, package size. I mean, file size, it sounds like it might go away, but as far as
You'll probably end up running into process with the OOM killer killing stuff because you're going to have other stuff that happens right after you decompress the chart that allocates memory. So if somebody did bump up against the memory limit, then you're going to run into problems there because right afterwards you're going to pass it. Yeah.
We do some percentage of free memory.
Yeah.
Anyway, just an idea.
And then so somebody who runs this on a machine that's got, you know, 128 gigs of RAM and it's a malicious chart. Next thing you know, they lock up a lot of the RAM on their system, not even realizing they're running a malicious chart. So we should, let's dig into the security stuff if we go down that road to see what the implication is there. There are a couple of security folks I'd want to talk to about that idea.
Cool. Ingi, I added your question from the chat to the agenda.
Oh, am I up?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Thank
you.
Because I'm up. I just want to make sure that this is said. And these two are very quick, and then you are. There was I forgot to add this to the announcements, but there was a follow-up, like a quick follow to releases, Helm 4.0.4 and 3.19.4. Note that there was no Helm 4.0.3 because of a build issue. But they were released on Friday. So they fixed a Go CVE. So from the yeah. And that is it for that one. You'll find those on the releases page. And the milestones, the Helm milestones have all the proper connections if you want to take a look at those. Go to GitHub issues and click milestones and click closed and you can see them. And then you can also see the next upcoming dates. Yeah, and then I just wanted to quickly note that if anyone's interested in if you have things on your mind because you've been doing anything with Helm plugins, or if it's just been tickling the back of your brain, there's going to be a PR opening soon to start a migration guide. There are already some guides in the Helm docs now, namely tutorials running people through how to make a plugin of each of the new types, including one of the types has a WASM runtime version of that, so that can help anyone who's interested. But yeah, please contribute to that if you've got something. And if you don't, just read it.
Thanks, Scott.
Okay, so the next is we've got 9 minutes left, and we want to save a few minutes at the end at least. And the next item is Ingi.
Okay. I was just going to ask what language people write plugins, but I'll say a little bit more. Matt, I think you were talking to a woman who's writing an article for some thing called The Stack about Helm 4 and its plugin system. Is that right, Karina?
It was just about Helm 4, not necessarily the plugin, but yes, that was one of the
you must
topics
have
that came
mentioned
up.
me because she reached out to me and we talked once yesterday. Anyway,
Yep.
about Helmwise, and I was like, well, it's really not ready yet. So anyway, she might mention it or something. But I started looking at it a little bit closer, and I realized at KubeCon that I'm going to put YAML script aside, but I can accomplish most of it in Go YAML, like as you can actually configure Go YAML to do 80% of what YAML script is capable of. And I was just wondering, that means I could write. I was just wondering if Go is one of the languages, I assume it is, that you write WASM plugins so that I could write Helmwise as an
I think it's Tiny Go, but let me confirm for you. And we can, Ingi, we can take that one offline.
Yeah, sure. And the other question was, then I started reading about the Helm 4 plugin system, a write-up about it, and it had 3 areas, and one of them was kind of like a post-rendering thing. Is that correct? I probably want to talk with somebody about how this would best integrate, but like I could start playing with Helm plugins as post-renderers. Is that correct or not? Does that work?
Yes, absolutely. And the answer to the languages too is that there's a link in the docs for it, but anything the current plugin connector Go library that we're using is well, is the XDism project Go SDK because Helm's written in Go, but they have a PDK for a number of different languages. So any of the languages that they support, you can write a plugin in.
Well, I wanted to write it in Go, and hopefully it works with TinyGo. So cool.
So,
don't use don't use TinyGo, use normal Go. Have a look at
Say
my
that
GitHub.
slower,
There's an
George.
example plugin.
Use what?
Normal Go.
Normal Go. Okay, thank you.
And one of the things to keep in mind here is while you can do certain things with the post renderer, we eventually want to and should get WASM plugins so you can do your render engine as something packaged in Charts v3. So somebody who's installing it doesn't also need to go get a post renderer plugin. They can just grab a chart and install it without having to get a third party plugin to do something. It's just shipped along with the chart. That's one of the things we should ultimately try to do.
Yeah, there's a hip for that that's open. Um, and actually it's in draft mode. I probably should move that out of draft mode. It was in draft mainly because it was relying on the plugins hip, and that this part of that initial hip got moved into chart defined plugins, very focused like Helm 4 hip. So that's probably a good place to yeah to discuss that. So anyone can find that in the Helm community repo.
Nice.
Okay, so we've got 5 minutes. Um, there are two hip reviews. Uh, Mine'll be quick. There's a link in the there's a link in the discussion doc, the agenda doc, to this was brought to I think my attention or our attention by Terry, who was monitoring other Helm PRs. And the question, this is a short one that we could follow up on, but I think this is a question for at least partly for Matt as the Helm 4 release engineer. But I think this has been a long open question is can Helm ignore have parity with git ignore in terms of its rules? And my thought is this is a thing that's tied to charts, so perhaps it's a change that could be made in charts v3. If there's a yeah, comments on that hip are very welcome, and if you have anything to say about it briefly here, um, that's cool too.
No, that makes sense for the next version of charts. Yeah, to add this in. I had not even thought about these gaps because this was all put together so long ago. I actually wonder if there's another because we have our own ignore package. I wonder if it could leverage some external package that knows how to do Git, whatever. But yeah, I don't see. This seems like a no-brainer if somebody wants to work on this.
Absolutely, and we're definitely thinking along similar lines. I did some research on that, and we'll share that on the available Go packages. The short version is there really aren't any. Uh, even Go
Okay.
Git has I mean the closest is Go Git, and that's probably good enough for us. That's actually what Flux uses for its source ignore file.
Okay.
There's just a minor difference for a very specific use case that's very seldomly used. So that's just the
Okay.
one thing to discuss.
Yeah, I took a look
Okay.
at it. It made sense, Scott, with what you proposed. Yeah.
All right, cool. And then Andrew uh, had a hip. I know we only have 3 minutes, so sorry about that, Andrew. Wait, is
Oh,
Andrew in the call?
yeah, I'm right here.
Okay.
Yeah, not a problem. We talked about it last week. This is just a continuation. I can't imagine anybody actually got time to review it because I only updated it on Tuesday. I don't know that there's a whole lot to discuss, but it's basically just the idea of having the deployed chart available at render time,
That's
and all of its metadata,
that's right.
or rather, only its metadata, not the actual whole chart.
So I think in this case, this is mainly asking, hey, can this is ready to take a look at? Could folks take a look at it, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I will definitely take a look too. Um, uh, okay, and then the other thing is just, are there any, oh gosh, within the minute and a half, are there any shout outs? Specifically, I'm going to say if there are, just write them in here since there weren't immediate responses. And then are there any social media amplifications that are needed? Maybe the most recent fast follow releases. I will ping in the maintainers chat if Karen's still on the call. If not, we can. Looks like no. Okay, one of us can do that. And then who wants to be moderator for next week?
3 weeks.
You mean January?
Rather, who wants to be moderator in 3 weeks? Do we even know? Is it too far out?
Do we want to just wait and see who shows up?
We have to survive the holidays first, there, Scott.
Yeah, let's
Survive the
do
holidays.
that.
Is anybody going to be around to do any issue triage or PR reviews, even if we're slow?
I'll be around.
I'll be around.
I actually plan on that being my thing to do because I'm not going to do work.
Joe,
Yeah, exactly what you said.
Joe, George, Andy. I will too. Any other maintainers that are doing that?
The one thing that I want to talk about with this is I want people to remember that the first Monday in January is when we cut the release candidate. So if we want something in the 4.1.0, it needs to be dealt with for the first Monday in January. And one of the things that we're going to have to deal with here is it was only yesterday that Kubernetes 1.35 was actually released. So the client libraries for that need to be merged in so we can accurately support that. So that is one of the things we need to keep on our radar.
Thanks, Matt. Absolutely. Yeah, and when we haven't always been labeling the pull requests between features and bugs and other things like that. I know there's an open HIP to like help ensure that we do that, but anyone just keep it in mind if, like what Matt said, that means the minor release means apart from the Kubernetes releases for V3 and V4, that means new features for V4.
Yeah, can we tag issues and can we try and keep milestones up to date? Would be awesome, and not just sticking the next milestone for anything which, because I had to bump a whole lot, which there was a pull request with that.
Yeah, I've been going back and doing them retroactively for a lot of the merged PRs. But anyway, it's a 101 now, so there is a HIP to enforce that. So actually, George, if you don't mind taking a peek at that in the community repo too, I'd love your feedback. That should take care of your concern. All right, everybody. Thanks, and have a happy holidays, and we'll see you in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.